Government statistics will tell you that almost every school in the land will have a pupil with an autistic spectrum disorder. This video is looking specifically at some pupils with Asperger's syndrome and gives a flavour of life in mainstream school. People with Asperger's have social, communication and interaction difficulties and have an unconventional way of thinking.
It's a syndrome. They're not too sure at the moment, but they think it's somehow genetic, and it happens while you're developing.
I don't quite know about it, but I know it's something you're born with.
I don't know the exact definition of it, but what I do know is that it affects learning abilities, it affects overall concentration, and generally behaviour as well. The
brain is connected differently to most people's, the way that most people's brains function. So the way they process thoughts and stuff is different to the way a neurotypical person would.
No matter how wrong they are we are stubborn arguers, and we will argue as much as we can and as often as we can. You just need to keep focused on task.
The Asperger's pupils I've worked with find it very hard to interact on certain levels with other people. They mistake things. They mistake the normal interpersonal communication.
Can come out with inappropriate comments in the middle of lessons. Some can get very agitated. And am I allowed to say actually quite violent on some occasions, really.
Autism is a huge spectrum, and one autistic child can be completely different from another.
Generally, a pupil with Asperger's is welcomed by a mainstream school, which will work together with professionals and parents to develop strategies ensuring the needs of the individual pupil are met.
Because when he first went to school, he was only in for an hour, because by that time he wasn't diagnosed. So, because he was a bit of a handful, they had him in for an hour, then Charles had to go and pick him up, so he was in at 9, out of school at 10.
When we finish looking at the book, we're going to sit on the carpet with everybody else, OK?
It's not been an easy process, and it's been very much everybody working together. Mum and Dad, myself, the learning support assistants.
My helpers help me with my work and help me make stuff, and I can go in the nature. If I didn't have a helper, then I couldn't.
Now he'll happily go to school now because he's got the one-to-one and he's more settled. It's a lot better now.
They're wonderful with them, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're really good.
We introduced a support assistant, and then we looked at a programme of positive behaviour, really focusing on the difficult behaviour, like the scratching, and just saying, right, today we don't want you to scratch, that's the focus. Today you're going to keep your hands by your sides.
I know what the one
And you think how you might move.
Do you remember when we were looking in the pond and we saw the top of the pond moving?
Stop looking across it.
What was it?
We use timers, 5 minutes on the carpet. Do 5 minutes on the carpet today, and then tomorrow let's do 5 minutes again. We try and build it up. Sometimes it goes out the window and we have to start again. We're back to 3 minutes.
Well, every morning I speak through with the support assistant and say, right, this is what we're going to do, and we come up with, right, well, for example, today he went and had a look in the pond before he did the lesson so that he would have some experience and know what we're talking about.
Can you feel anything on the bottom?
Yeah.
Can you? What can you feel?
Oh, nothing. It's looking tadpoles.
More tadpoles.
once you start getting the help and he starts settling in school, you do see like a light at the end of the tunnel.
In the classroom, it's helpful to provide a multi-sensory learning experience using practical, visual and written cues. Pupils need to know exactly what to do, how to do it, and how long the task is expected to take.
I personally try to make everything as visual as possible for Mihail. Just giving him visual cues, just help him sort of hang his hat on any abstract thoughts he has.
Mihail, what does that mark do to our readers' voices?
It means shout.
It does. It means raise your voice or say it louder.
Lindsay, the classroom assistant, has got a very close relationship with Mihail, but now she's able to take a step back more now, not sort of be with him all the time.
Some children benefit from an in-house social skills programme.
What would he be saying?
We take him out for socially speaking activities. We sit, and I am sitting in a very improper manner. I'm actually talking to Mihail, but what I'm actually doing is talking to a chair.
1,000.
Oh, 1,000 goals. All right. Oh, well, very good. I have to ask him, what am I doing wrong? And he tells me, well, you know, I'm sitting over here, Mrs. Petty, and all you're doing is talking to a chair, or you're talking to the desk.
Tell me what I should do. Give me instructions as to what I should do. Look at me.
Look at my eyes.
Look at your eyes. How should I look at my eyes? Look at my eyes. How should I sit?
Sit down.
Can you put me down on my chair properly? Push me down. Oh, right, okay.
We do lots of different things like working on sitting and listening and eye contact and little verbal infills. So, for instance, Mihail's been taught to do things like, yes, and just giving him prompts to show that he's interested.
And is there anything other than in the playground? What else do you like doing? Look in my eyes. What do you like doing at school?
Talk of space.
Talking about space? Look into my eyes.
At first, when Mihail came, he was engaged in a lot of solitary play. We had to arrange a playtime partner for Mihail, actually get somebody to go out with him and say, can you take Mihail out and be a playground partner? But now Mihail will just go out with all the other children and join in a game quite quickly.
Not all children require extra support, and the nature of the syndrome is not immediately visible. Each child is different and has a unique combination of strengths and weaknesses.
Two children that I deal with here are almost opposite, in that one can build good friendships outside in the playground, one of them can't at all and really struggles. One works well in the classroom and the other one struggles considerably in the classroom. And also that the triggers that they have are different.
You read those instructions to me.
How do you think you could make a sound with these objects?
Raymond's been with us for some time, and his needs are very particular to Raymond, but they're not terribly disruptive. Whereas we have another pupil in the school whose needs are a little bit more extreme.
I found the most challenging thing is finding appropriate information and passing it on to other staff, given that I have no in-depth knowledge myself, and the child that I have now is the first child I've taught with autism at all.
Autism is a huge spectrum, and one autistic child can be completely different from another, and it's really worth coming to, perhaps if you're confronted with having an autistic child in your school, go and find another school that has welcomed one of these children into their school, and go and speak to the people who do it day after day after day.
One of them in the jungle. Two of them.
Okay. One such school is Woodchurch High. Since the syndrome was recognised as a form of autism in the 90s, the school has welcomed a large number of pupils with Asperger's, all with varying academic, social and communication capabilities.
We went from a position in 1997 when we had our first training to prepare us for an intake of 2 pupils with Asperger's, and for us it was a big step into the unknown at first. So obviously it's something which you approach with a little bit of trepidation and concern about how you're going to help these pupils.
We would be very flexible, and if anyone felt at the time that children were getting stressed or that it was inappropriate for them to remain in a classroom, then obviously they would have the opportunity to extract the child from the room and for them to go to a nice quiet area where they could talk through the problems and the issues concerned.
Something we have initiated is we do pupil profiles that, you know, that if a handover for a different child, if you're going to be absent, you know, each LSA will have a profile of the child they've worked with, where they like to sit in class, who they work best with, moments of stress and anxiety to avoid.
What we do is we just ensure that all the teachers are aware of what the implications are and why it's important that we have an inclusion policy and that we treat these children with as much flexibility and care and understanding as possible.
I have different ones for different subjects. It's actually better that way because you can get to know more people.
And how do they help you?
Well, just a little prod in the right direction.
Any youngster going to school, there needs to be a partnership between parents and school and home. And with Asperger's youngsters, that partnership needs to be sometimes quite specific. We need to know what is going on in school on a day-to-day basis in probably a much higher level of detail than most youngsters would need, and school need to know what has gone on at home.
The bungalow, what else do we usually get?
Bread.
Bread?
Bread.
For a toast for breakfast club?
Well, it was hard, but as I got through the years, I've been more mature in that.
And so it's helped you in the class?
Yeah, it's really helped.
We entered a huge learning curve with those pupils over the first few years, and we're at a stage now where the first intake left. They were very, very successful in their GCSE exams. We were able to take pupils on school trips abroad, and we think that we've built up a range of strategies which we can now use with other pupils with Asperger's.
Well, it's helped me gain more confidence, because when I first came in, I was like a nervous wreck. And it's helped me progress a lot in the classwork.
Talk to me in angles and degrees.
Rotate it 90 degrees right.
Well, do that then.
It's the little things, like particularly with some of the Asperger's children who are reluctant to answer questions or don't want to get it wrong, or even other children. You're looking for the signal from the learning support assistant. It might be the nod of the head that, yes, they know it, but don't want to be put on the spot. Then you can ask. So you're actually looking for the clues from the learning support assistant.
This was a pupil who came into Year 7. Who lived in an imaginary world. He'd be walking down the corridor, talking to his imaginary friends. That was the pupil in the middle. They were his imaginary friends, and the LSAs, the learning support assistants, trying to bring him into our world, and his imaginary friends were saying, no, don't go. Come back into ours. I'd talked to other support staff during the week about his behaviour, and they were all saying the same, not being able to cope in the classroom. And the only way that I could find out about his thoughts and his feelings was for him to draw it out, to draw the pictures.
Obsessions such as drawing, trains and computers are common, but if handled correctly, they can be utilised as a positive teaching tool.
The particular students we have here with Asperger's seem to have great capabilities in ICT. It seems to be a trait that Asperger's children do have this fantastic use of ICT. So, and in fact, in some ways, they come at a level that is beyond me.
It's not unusual for a pupil with Asperger's syndrome to excel in a certain area. It's important for their self-esteem, confidence and standing to develop any particular interests or talents.
Children want to work with John, because he's bright as well, because he comes out with these brilliant ideas.
Wait till they're all on before you give me a full light.
Without a doubt, he's the brightest in this class. I handle him like every other student, because I treat them all as individual. He's a very, very bright lad, so I like to play on that, if you like. I bring on that and bring on his strengths.
Can you turn the whites off for me? Just leave the colours.
Reasonable adjustments can be made to provide opportunities for a personality that can often appear to be unpredictable and emotional. It's important that pupils are made to feel part of the whole school community.
Sometimes his world might be a bit shaky, I don't know, and I just try and keep him as calm as can be, and if he's getting upset, I try and stop him from becoming more upset. So I try and bring humour into things and just try and diffuse any situation really, and keep him back on, getting back on track.
Unstructured periods such as lunch and break times are often the most difficult. It's useful to have a quiet corner where solitude can be found if needed, away from the hustle and bustle.
Some say that they're doing training.
Flexibility and understanding are the keys for both staff and pupils.
As well as staff receiving training, we also had people going in and talking to the form about Asperger syndrome and talking to form groups about what they could expect, the sort of behaviour which they might expect from pupils with Asperger's.
Only occasionally will there be a problem.
They tried as hard as they could. They did all the things that they could as a mainstream school. I had a full-time support worker, but I felt like really as if they were, like as if I didn't have any independence.
It's certainly not rosy all the time. I suppose you'd liken it to a rumble sometimes. It can be just one little thing for that child that would trigger them off. And it could be something different, and it doesn't have to be the same thing.
We have a homeschool diary, and the aim of the homeschool diary is to keep the parents informed, and it has a positive note rather than a negative note, not comments like, your child obsessively tapped the pen 15 times. And that's really important because we have seen homeschool diaries like that. It's a positive, it's how the child has achieved what the child has done, and also to pass messages, because children with Asperger syndrome don't often pass messages home.
Homework is always a problem for Asperger's children. They are very, very clear and delineated in what is school and what is home. And so the problem is that they do not see or understand why they should do schoolwork at home.
Do you want to do some of your science that we were doing? Can you take the hustle?
So what we decided to do was to ask parents if they're agreeable for Asperger's pupils to drop a subject. And this gave 3 hours a week that they can work in school with their learning support assistant.
Remember, help is at hand from experts and outside agencies. You won't get it right all of the time, but you'll undoubtedly benefit from experience and advice.
Flexible and ready to recognise when enough is enough, and perhaps now is not the time to push it any further, but to leave it for today and recognise that's enough progress for today.
Not too many confused messages, very clear facial messages.
Well, generally trying to keep me on task so I can focus on what I'm doing. Because if I get distracted, it's going to take ages for me to get back on and just lose tons of work.
Talk to them by using their name. Don't make generalised statements. Don't say things, for example, like it's raining cats and dogs, because sometimes they don't realise that you don't mean it literally, so they could look out the window and look for the cats and dogs.
The biggest thing I could say is have a sense of humour and don't take things personally, because they can sometimes be very abrupt, but not intentionally.
We sometimes had to be prepared to throw lesson plans out the window if particular activities weren't appropriate.
Just get to know the child, see what their needs are, what their likes are, and perhaps find out what interests them.
I think an unshakable belief that these youngsters can deliver if the right support is put in place.
Work with the confidence first of the child. Once you know, and you'll know when you've got that confidence with him or her, the rest will follow. And, that's the wonderful world of education, isn't it?